Welcome to the About Healing podcast, a place of love and understanding for all. A reminder that we are in this life together and never alone in our struggles. I'm your co-host, Cherie Buckman, medium and spiritual healer.
And I'm your other co-host, Katie Sass, intuitive energy healer. For more information on us, check out our personal websites listed in our About Healing podcast description.
Let's get our healing on.
Yeah. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the About Healing podcast. How are you, Cherie, this fine day so far?
I'm doing great, given the circumstances, but I'm happy as normal. What about you, my friend?
I actually feel really good this morning. I did a healing session with a lady yesterday, which I'll kind of touch upon in a little bit, but I feel good. It was a woman who works with stress and trauma release. I feel really good. The circumstances that you mentioned. So this podcast is just going to be a little bit different. I guess I want to just start by saying that I have decided to move in a different direction from the podcast. And so this podcast today is just going to be talking about where this is coming from. And it's definitely coming from a place of love. It has nothing to do with any drama behind the scenes. It isn't that. It's about the lessons that I've been getting throughout the year and where the light is guiding me to. So this year has been, I'm going to say it's been a year of the deepest lessons for me. And I try to get in that habit of saying, and going through deep lessons, going through lessons on the journey of life, instead of saying statements like, this year has been so hard, this year has been so challenging, because that law of attraction, we got to watch what we put out there. And we know that everything is happening for us. And sometimes it's hard when you're in it, especially when it's heavy stuff. This has been one of those years for me. And even though I'm so grateful for this podcast, and Spirit had told me upon doing this podcast that it would help me through what I was going through this year. I've had a lot of help and assistance through this year, and from you, Cherie, and from you, Copper, and from my friends, and from doing healing work, and from me listening to my intuition and my guide and the information they bring in, and using all the tools that we teach in real time, going through it. This year, I've been going through a lot, guiding my daughter. And it's, been a lot of lessons for me. A lot of lessons in letting go and understanding that I am here to support her and to support not just her, but my son too. We're all on this journey of life, and he's got his stuff too. We all do. We're human. And I've really been learning to let go. Understand that I'm here to support my kids, give them the things they need, but to understand that they have to go through this journey and they have to figure their own things out. Sometimes, like a lot of times, most of the time, it's about me stepping back and giving them the space to practice the tools that I give them, that other people give them, practicing those tools of what to do when these big emotions come up. When you're really upset, letting them work through it on their own, because I'm not always going to be there. And it doesn't even matter that. It's about keeping people in their power. And it's so, as a mom, it's so easy to want to try to help them all the time and fix them, not for them, for me. So if they feel better, then I can feel better. That's just not reality. I mean, doing that drains a person. We've talked about so many times before, draining yourself doesn't do good for anyone. Upon that, it's about me managing my energy too. One thing I've really learned, and you really helped me learn this, Cherie, too, is that me managing my energy helps the household, helps the whole household. So when everyone's in disarray, it's so crazy. I have to sit back sometimes and be like, okay, what is going on with me? And typically I'm in a place of fear and trying to control everything because, we're so used to it and it kind of creeps back in there. But it's great because we know these tools, right? I know these tools and I'm like, all right, this is what's going on. I know this. Step back, get away, go away for a few days. If I can't do that, it's about putting myself first and not even just going away. You can't get away all the time. Doing the day-to-day things about putting yourself first and taking that time. Even though I've been doing all these tools throughout my year, we're human and sometimes we gotta kind of push through it sometimes, to be real, because there's stuff to get done and school and life. And I started to notice that there was just some things coming up for me, some kind of like, we'll just call it trauma, that now that things have calmed down, I started to notice it coming out a little bit in my body. And I say trauma, but it was coming out as like anger, little bursts of anger and frustration. So what was happening is normal little situations would make me snap. I was like, whoa, that's not like me. I'm usually really patient. And I know we're human, but I'm like, this just isn't like me. Something else is going on. And I started to realize if those little pieces that I pushed down throughout the year were coming up to be healed. And so that's where, I was working with somebody yesterday and she does a thing called TRE. Yeah, so I did a second session of that yesterday and I feel so much better. So coming back around to the podcast, something else I was noticing within myself is I was so exhausted. And the last few times we've tried to record, I was just wore out to the point where we couldn't even record sometimes because I just had no energy. And that's okay. It's about listening to your body and not pushing through it and not drinking cup after cup of coffee to just keep going. I mean, be honest, sometimes I do that, but try not to do that all the time. So I started to feel that the podcast was just a little too much for me. I started to feel it wasn't the direction I was being guided to move into anymore. I've been being really called to work on another passion of mine, which I have been working on and have been working on really my whole life, but it's all becoming clear now. What that is my children's program. And not just children, but adolescents. They really need it. They really need help. They need these coping skills. They need to understand on a deeper level of who they are and how powerful they are and that they are exactly who they are meant to be and the importance of loving yourself and understanding their boundaries, teaching them boundaries and that it's okay to say no and really understanding too that what others say to you or about you isn't always about you. It's about them. Just giving some of that information and understanding. It's the same stuff that we are going through, the same lessons we're going through. They're no different, but somebody needs to be out there. And I know there are already people, but I'm really just being guided to be one of those people. I'm learning it through my own kids. I really, really am. And I know that I chose them, they chose me, and I really feel that I'm meant to help others with this. I'm really meant to help parents who have these kids who are so sensitive and really trying to figure themselves out, and those kids who are feeling a lot of feelings and not sure how to deal with them. I want to empower kids so that they grow up to be empowered adults, man, because I want people making these good decisions. So yeah, that's why I'm feeling guided to move in a different direction. I'm listening to my intuition and following where I'm being guided, following the light. I put these dreams out there, these big dreams out there, and then I just got to follow where the universe is taking me. And I know this podcast was huge for me. I know it was huge, even though we didn't do a ton of episodes at this time together. It's been so healing for me. It really is. And my gosh, I'm so proud of myself for being brave and stepping out and doing it. And I know we've talked about that, just going forward and stepping into being brave and following where your guidance is. And yeah, I was thinking a little bit earlier today about when Cherie and I were talking about this podcast. There was a part of my intuition that felt that I wasn't going to be doing it for a really long time and that I was feeling more Cherie's energy in it. But I actually kind of wrote it off as my ego. I thought it was just me being afraid. I mean, it really doesn't matter what it was. I just had that thought. I was like, oh yeah, that was my intuition kind of guiding me. And it's cool to look back at that too, just as a little like affirming energy that I'm moving in the direction I need to be moving in. So many lessons, so many lessons. But you know what? It's all about following your guidance, putting yourself first, allowing yourself that time to give yourself a break so you can hear that guidance too into which way you should be moving in. And there was a time not too long ago that I just had too much going on and I wasn't giving myself really the best I could in any area. I take that back. I was giving so much of my energy in my healing work sessions too, that I was really putting my energy into because that's my passion. It really is. But then I would just come home exhausted, trying to figure out where's that exhaustion coming from. A lot of it was about taking a rest, deciding what do I have time for, which directions am I being guided to. So yeah, so much love in this podcast and what it's been for me. There's such deep love I have for the both of you. The fact that you both understand and that when I did deliver this news, delivered it in a space to just let it resonate for a little bit. Let it sit there instead of reacting. And I know you guys don't do that. You know, that's not how it is. And we've learned that, right? Not to react. And maybe in a moment we have those oh crap moments of reacting, but then you move through it and you're like, okay, this is happening for me. Why is this happening for me? It's going to be okay. Not judging the situation immediately, not going into panic. And maybe you did, I don't know, being like, okay, this is going to be okay. And I'm a creator and I can create this to be a good thing, a positive thing, a powerful thing to boost me in the direction that it needs to go in. How are you feeling, Sheree?
I mean, I think you just got into my psyche right there, the last thing you just said. Copper and I have known for just a little bit now, and we're now just creating this episode. But so we've had time to digest and have tons and tons of conversations with Katie. But the initial news, I think it hit me, and then my heart sank to my stomach. Because at first, you sent me the text. At first, she's like, I just need you to think about this for a second. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I mean, and I did. And it was for a hot second, it was, oh no, oh no. But it took me 1 second to feel that for a moment because I know Katie and I put myself in this understanding mode of knowing where Katie's at. And Katie, I know we've had this discussion, but I'm going to say it again. The first thing that I shared, and still to this day, and how I truly feel about you making this decision is how proud I am of you for putting yourself first and doing what you need to do. I mean, that's powerful. It really is.
Thank you.
I mean, I know what it's like when you're creating something, and especially, with me and creating this podcast, obviously I was so afraid to do this on my own, and I knew I needed a partner, and you were the right partner. And I know that still deep down too. I've grown so much, and I have tears in my eyes right now because I'm so grateful for this experience and beginning this journey with you, Katie, because if it wasn't for you, this never would have started in the first place.
Right back at you. And you, Copper, too.
Well, and I was going to get to Copper in 1 second, too, because, and truly, Copper, you are the absolute backbone and foundation that makes this podcast work.
Uh-huh.
Because Katie and I can talk all day into a microphone, but for it to get anywhere is...
I feel like that's like French for you're bossy and you make us do the things we don't want to do.
I mean, this is true, but in the best way possible, because you push us. We get into these like comfort zones and you push us past that. And that's what helps us grow. And you really do. And that's what I mean. This is just the most amazing experience. And I know what Katie's been going through. Again, like I said before we started this podcast, it's Katie and I have these really deep conversations every week about the things that we're going through. And so we've been working together on a lot. And for her to get to this point to say, I have to draw a line somewhere, even though I made this commitment here, she wasn't going to put herself out or give herself more anxiety or make herself more exhausted by just sticking with a commitment because she was worried about my reaction or Copper's reaction. She did this in a beautiful way. She did this with love too. And I love that because, Katie, I want to give this as an example to others that if you are finding that line where you need to give something up and you need to set that boundary for yourself, this is a beautiful thing. And this is really a stepstone in strength for you. And I know this is kind of like a new experience for you in setting these beautiful boundaries, but you did it with grace. and you did it with love. And you didn't yell one day and say, I'm so stressed out, I'm out. No, it wasn't dramatic at all. It was a loving, supporting experience that you felt that you need to move on. You need to do what you need to do. But you also gave me the words and the energy that I truly felt I needed to carry this on to.
Thank you. Thank you. That feels so good to hear that.
When you told us, it was kind of funny, not haha funny, but it felt very much the right thing for you to do. And I don't mean that in the way that we're like, oh, oh, Katie's leaving. Oh, it's like finally, because I know that sometimes, man, you have expressed both to us and on the show that, am I saying the right things? Am I really helping? And I am here to tell you that yes, you added and you continue to add so much value. So much value.
Oh, thank you.
And, even watching you record the show, I've mentioned to you and I mentioned to Sheree, I always know when you're going to come out with this like amazing statement because you
Oh.
kind of always pause and you look off to the side and then you come back and it's this clear point that you're making. And it's always like, wow, that's exactly what needed to be said. So
Aw.
it wasn't relief that I felt when you said that because I'm very sad and I'm going to miss this weekly conversation. And hopefully that's not going away. We just won't be recording it.
Right, right.
But the thing, I think it was very easy for us to accept because it felt like such the right thing for you to do. For you, like just immediately when you said it, I think I speak for both of us where we were both like, yes, that's where you need to go. That's what you need to do.
It became choiceless. And
Yeah.
and that's a big thing, is allowing things to become choiceless when you're trying to decide which direction to move in.
And I really wanted to share, and I think this would be amazing to share, Katie, if you're willing, that the moment we had our conversation together about you moving on and what you needed to do when you make these decisions. So go back episode 9, where we talked about choices and setting intention and then having the universe will guide you through. I really wanted to share what that was like for you, Katie, because I remember checking in with you. It was right after we had our big conversation
Oh,
together. Like,
yeah.
how are you doing? Like, how are you in this? And do you want to share what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, the next day, I felt so much lighter. And even after we spoke, I felt lighter. I started to like really get in the flow, be back in the flow of things. And I just started being guided in different directions, started hearing spirit clearer, just getting those validations that I was moving in the right direction. And it's following the flow of that light energy, and following your guidance of where you need to go, and knowing that you don't have to do it all. You're not meant to do it all. And that sometimes you're just meant to do things for a certain amount of time. Sometimes you're just meant to be in a relationship with someone for a certain amount of time, and you learn what you need to learn, and you grow in the way you need to grow, and then you move on. Not all relationships are meant to be forever. Not all experiences are meant to last forever.
However, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Katie's not leaving me in this friendship.
I knew
Like,
that was coming
it's a
up.
podcast, but like, she's
Right.
not leaving me.
Right. I just started thinking about those who might be moving through something in a personal relationship that they have with someone, and trying to decide if it's healthy for them, or if they're being guided somewhere else, and knowing too, just because I move on, it doesn't mean it's going to be this terrible thing for the both of you. No. Just like if you were to move on from a relationship, it doesn't mean it has to be this terrible thing for the other person. It might be awkward in a different transition for a little bit, maybe not. But it allows that person or this situation to move in an even more beautiful light. Like, I let go because my energy wasn't giving what it needed to anymore. And that, just like in a relationship, maybe your energies aren't working together anymore. And as you release that, then you can move in such in a direction that's better for you, that's lighter for you, the direction that you're being guided to. There's that in it too.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I absolutely love what you just said, because as the other person in this podcast relationship, in leaving, I will say it was a whirlwind. of, what do you do now? And kind of scrambling, like, what do I do without this person? And how do you like restabilize? And it's just like any other relationship or situation where we're so used to it and leaning on someone or having someone there, whether it's a positive or a negative, but you still have to rebalance and figure that part out. I'm going to save my story and what that'll be like for the next episode, because I really want this one to be about Katie and where she's going. Just to add a little piece to the universe working with Katie, I think I've shared with her once or twice since she's made this decision too, that I have heard and shared with people about what she's creating, and they're getting so excited. And it's the universe supporting Katie in what she's doing and what she feels that she needs to do, because there are a lot of people excited for the courses or whatever she's doing and the support she's giving to children and families for children who are also sensitive. And I love this. And I cannot wait for what you're about to do, Katie, and where the universe is taking you. And I can't wait. And let me tell you, everybody, even though Katie is leaving the podcast as my co-host, she is not leaving forever. We will have Katie on. We will have her here as a guest. Yes, she will definitely be a frequent guest where she can come on and share with us all of her beautiful wisdom. And not only that, it's her beautiful, loving energy. And I feel it. And I am sure our listeners feel it. And we get so drawn to Katie because, Katie, you are a natural healer. Just listening to your words, feeling your energy. That's the thing. We feel your energy through your words, and it's magical. And I love it. It might be biased. I don't know. But Copper?
I would agree.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to just say something else that was coming through to share, because I feel like there's some listeners out there that need to hear this. If you are in a relationship, and this isn't about the podcast and us and our situation. This is if you're in a relationship and it's served its purpose, it's played its course, and you know this, remember that you are a creator. And so create the exiting of the relationship to look how you want it to look. And actually, I realize this is about the podcast too, because before I spoke to you, I asked Spirit, please, as I talk to Copper, as I talk to Cherie about this, please let all of my words come through with love and compassion and understanding. Wrap this whole situation in love. And that the same goes if somebody is moving on from a relationship. You're the creator. Call it in how you want it to look and stay focused on that instead of those little things that you might create in your mind. Like, they're going to be so upset. They're going to blow up at me. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Just remember, you're a creator, and create what you want to see. And if you don't know what you want to see, just do what I do then. Do what I did and just call in that love and support, and maybe call in some angel energy to stand by you as you speak what you need to speak, and be in your heart when you speak these things, not up in your head, and let your words flow through with love.
And to add to that, what Katie said too, was when you are feeling that it is time to exit a relationship, so often I know people who stay with it because they're so concerned, well, if I leave, what is the other person going to do? They can't do this without me, or they can't survive or make choices or do so and so A, B, and C if I am not there to do it for them or with them. This podcast, for instance, when Katie said her exit, I'm sure she had that in her mind, but like, oh no, what is Cherie going to do? She may not continue in it, or I don't know if she will or not. But that wasn't.
No. I knew you would. But there was a little blip of me. Sorry not to interrupt, but there was a little piece that I was like, oh my God, I hope she's not mad at me. Just for a minute.
Yeah.
I thought that.
But no, in any situation, but I know a lot of people that do that, they're going to stay in it because I don't think this person can, survive without me. But we have to release our energy and our control within that. Because honestly, when people are used to having you do the things for them, they're not going to do it because you've been there to do it. And this isn't about the podcast. I mean, this is truly just a relationship thing. I just want you to know that when you pull back and release your energy, like Katie did, when she pulled back and the day she released her energy after we had the big conversation with the three of us, she said she felt this big release. She could connect clear with spirit. I mean, being hit with universal signs. I mean, I think for a good couple of days, you were getting these big, huge signs coming towards you.
Yeah, I was.
It was a big support. And it's the same thing, but it released. And now of course I had to go through my stuff for a minute, but it pushed me in a direction that I wouldn't have done if it wasn't for this. I wouldn't have continued to go through whatever fears or doubts or that worthiness and all that. So stay tuned of whatever I had to go through to be able to do it on my own. So the point is that if you release somebody, you're going to let them go and be able to figure it out on their own. They will land on their feet. You are not responsible for somebody else. You absolutely are not. Even what Katie says in the beginning when we were talking about being a parent and where she had to kind of release her children. And what she's talking about is that control. We are there to support others, to love them unconditionally. Unconditionally is the point. To make the choices and decisions, whether good or bad, because they're lessons and that's how people learn. But once we kind of separate our energy, you're actually forcing people to figure it out on their own. They cannot grow and they cannot evolve without having to do it for themselves. Like Katie said, and I love it, everything you said, Katie, was amazing and beautiful when you were talking about situations and relationships we're in, even for short term. They're lessons of growth. We need to take these lessons and we move on with those. But we also share these lessons with everybody else. As we're growing and evolving and we're changing, other people are seeing that and it's inspiring others too. So just know that as you're doing the work, this is a domino effect. It is a huge domino effect because as a parent, as you're doing your healing and you're setting boundaries, it's teaching your kids to do the same. Or again, with friends or ex-relationships or even jobs, it's the same thing. You are doing this and it's teaching people where those boundary lines are.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So many lessons. And, even when you have an experience too that seems like it was so painful, just remember it's lessons and it's growing and we're expanding. Even if it's something that was really painful, don't judge it. It was happening for you. Learning those lessons through the hard stuff. All right, my friends. Well, it has been a journey. I love it. I can't wait to see where it goes. And when you were saying that I will come back on at a later time, I thought, I wonder where I will be then.
Who knows what you're going to be able to share with us throughout this time and this journey. And I love it because you're growing and evolving. You're already sharing so much through your experiences. So Katie, again, your time here has been extremely invaluable. You are amazing
Thank
in
you.
so many ways. Katie, I too cannot wait to see what you do in the future. And we will be sure to share with our listeners as time goes. And with all that being said too, I just want everybody else to know that this has been a big shift, but the podcast isn't going anywhere. And I cannot wait to share the new direction and what to expect and where we're going in the next episode. But until then, I want to make sure that this is this beautiful farewell to Katie. So I'd like to ask any of you out there, all of our listeners who have enjoyed the podcast thus far, to please send a shout out to Katie, either via our Facebook page, Instagram, even our Podcastics webpage. You can actually message there or write an email to our abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com and send a wonderful message to Katie, wishing her well into the future.
Aw, that's so nice. If you feel called.
But I know for me, Katie, you will be missed and we love you.
Oh, I love you too. I love you too. And I'll see you. I'll be talking to you next week.
I know, we'll still be talking.
Or soon. Both of you, I will be talking to you soon. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and have a beautiful day filled with love. With much gratitude, thank you for tuning in. You can find us at Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, or any of your favorite places to find podcasts.
Remember to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and to share any comments, or if you have any questions, please email us at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another amazing episode. Until then, be kind to yourself.